The United States is quietly and behind the scenes ramping up their efforts to obtain Greenland. Classified messages have been released, and inside of these messages, it shows that intelligence agencies have been asked to identify people in Greenland and Denmark who support the United States taking over the territory. So what does this mean? That means that the intelligence agencies have been tasked with finding assets and spies in the region so that they can figure out how exactly to do this. And we all know that Donald Trump has said publicly he wants to acquire Greenland. So I'm assuming when they talk about the U.S. objectives in Greenland, that is what they mean. So they want to find people in these regions who align with the administration on these goals. But this is the leaked information. And Tulsi Gabbard is not happy about this because Trump's administration has had a lot of leakers because Trump has a lot of enemies. And when you have a lot of enemies in your administration, those enemies are going to leak information. But nonetheless, it is interesting, and it gives us an inside look at what exactly is going on with Greenland and President Trump's efforts to acquire Greenland. This is it. The United States orders intelligence agencies to step up spying on Greenland. The U.S. is stepping up its intelligence gathering efforts regarding Greenland, drawing America's spying apparatus into President Trump's campaign to take over the island, according to two people familiar with the effort. And we've been seeing this a lot lately. This people familiar with the effort or people familiar with the administration. Whenever a media company does this, these are the leakers. So these two people undoubtedly are the leakers. Several high-ranking officials under Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard issued a collection emphasis message to intelligence agency heads last week. They were directed to learn more about Greenland's independence movement and attitudes on American resource extraction on the island. The classified message asked agencies whose tools include surveillance satellites, communications intercepts, and spies on the ground to identify people in Greenland and Denmark who support U.S. objectives for the island. So these agencies, you can kind of use your imagination. What agencies include surveillance satellites, communication intercepts, and spies on the ground? It'll say here in a second. The directive is one of the first concrete steps Trump's administration has taken toward fulfilling the president's often stated desire to acquire Greenland. A collection emphasis message helps set intelligence agency priorities, directing resources and attention to high-interest targets. The Greenland order, which went to agencies including the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the NSA, underscores the administration's apparent commitment to seeking control of the self-governing land. It forms part of the Kingdom of Denmark, a North Atlantic Treaty Organization member and a decades-long ally. James Hewitt, and now it's getting into this message itself, because, of course, this is not just publicly available information. These are sources that leaked this information, so nobody's happy about this. It's highly sensitive information. But James Hewitt, a National Security Council spokesman, said the White House doesn't comment on intelligence matters, but added the president has been very clear that the U.S. is concerned about the security of Greenland and the Arctic. In a statement, Tulsi Gabbard said, "The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed of aiding deep state actors who seek to undermine the president by politicizing and leaking classified information." So they are not confirming that this classified information is true, but Gabbard not happy with this information getting out if it is true. Of course, there's always the possibility that this is complete BS and made up by the Wall Street Journal, but it does seem plausible given Donald Trump's position on attempting to acquire Greenland. He's been very public about this, I guess, as well as Canada. He wants to make Canada the 51st state. But I can see, personally, I can see more value in obtaining Greenland than trying to go after Canada as the 51st state. And she goes on, "They are breaking the law and undermining our nation's security and democracy." The Danish embassy in Washington declined to comment, and the prime minister of Greenland didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The Arctic island of some 56,000 people hasn't historically been a key target for U.S. intelligence collection, according to a former American intelligence official. and a former senior intelligence officer focused on Europe. Quote, intelligence collection resources are inherently limited, the official said, meaning they have typically been pointed toward perceived threats, not allied countries. So in this case, of course, Greenland, I don't believe we consider a threat at all. But Trump wants to acquire it. So it appears as though the intelligence agencies have been directed to figure out some ways, just gather some information, cast a wide net here. Let's find some people that might be okay with helping us in this effort. Since his first term, Trump has emphasized his determination to purchase, annex, or conquer Greenland's 836,000 square miles of territory to the consternation of Denmark and many Greenlanders. Quote, we need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. And then he said, one way or another, we're going to get it. So this is why you can believe that these reports and these leaked messages are true. If we wanted to acquire Denmark, or rather Greenland, you can assume that the intelligence agencies have been directed to figure out some information or gather some information that might help us in doing so. Vice President J.D. Vance and then National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Energy Secretary Chris Wright traveled to Greenland in late March, sparking outrage from Danish leaders and Greenlandic residents. The visit puts completely unacceptable pressure on Greenland. This is a quote. Greenlandic politicians and the Greenlandic population, as well as on Denmark, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen told the Danish television in advance of the delegation. Quote, President Trump is serious, she said. He wants Greenland. Asked by NBC News in an interview that aired Sunday whether he would rule out seizing Greenland by force, Trump said, quote, I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. I mean, what do they expect Trump to say? Yes or no? You know, are you going to do this future military action? Trump's like, yeah, that's correct. I'm sending the military there next Thursday. So Greenland, be ready. Be ready with your toboggans and snowmobiles because we're going to be there. Why do they even ask these questions? Then he goes on to say, no, we need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security. I feel like if the United States obtained Greenland, everyone in Greenland would be extremely wealthy. Because I feel like that if we bought Greenland, that money would have to filter down to all of the residents of Greenland, right? With only 56,000 people, that's not very many people for it's not a country, it's a territory, but still. I don't know how that would even work. But the main reason why we wanted it here, other than the security measures, is the island is home to substantial deposits of rare earth minerals necessary for the production of everything from electric vehicles to wind turbines, as well as untapped oil and natural gas reserves. Mining those underground assets has proven logistically difficult. So President Trump ramping up efforts on the Greenland initiative, which is fantastic. I'm okay with this. I want Greenland. Not really so much on board with the 51st state Canada thing. I think that's a troll. But this Greenland thing, I think is 100% serious. And we're starting to see some information leaking out into the press that shows President Trump, his administration, Tulsi Gabbard, the intelligence agencies are putting out probes to figure out how we can accomplish this task. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of this leaked information coming out? Do you think it's legit? Let me know down below what you think of all this. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.